Welcome everyone to the Atomic Cinema Experiment. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Tara.
Greetings, citizens.
This is a special episode. This is the countdown results show over the last month. Last month being June. We had our audience vote and send in their top 20s and top 50 sci-fi movies of all time lists. We did our own list, of course, last year. We did our own special talking about our two top 50s. This, however, is the results based on the list that everyone else sent in. And this is going to be part one of two of us revealing what those results are. Now, Tara does not know what the results are, so I had to do the math. I had to do all the point allotment based on what was being sent in. And Tara's here to react in shock, horror, and...
This is a Birdemic list.
And maybe occasionally acceptance. I don't know. So that's basically it. There's not really a whole lot to explain beyond that. It's the top 50 voted for by our viewers, our listeners, and we're going to work through numbers 50 through 26 on this part. So. And I'm premiering this on YouTube, so if you're in the chat watching this as it premieres and chatting away to each other, hello. But to everyone, welcome to the show, and we will get started. I guess the only thing I'll say or discuss before we actually start with the entries is, do you have any expectations?
Yeah, I'm expecting to see all the big ones.
Sure, but I guess what I mean is rather than specific movies, are you expecting the things that we have unanimously kind of been against in the past? Are you expecting stuff that we don't like? Yeah, okay.
I'm expecting Blade Runner. I'm expecting all the Star Wars movies, although I like them. At least Empire is going to be up there, which I don't think we had any. Well, I had Star Wars on my list, the first one.
Yeah, no, just curious. I think I'm interested to compare this to our list. And
I also expect to see Serenity, which is a movie that doesn't belong on the list.
Do you shut your mouth? Look, you want to argue it should be lower down than where I had it, then fine. But it absolutely deserves to be on the top 50, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't expect to see Mystery Science Theater 3000, the movie, on the list. But that, it's a shame. People just don't recognize it for the glory it is.
I think people recognize it for exactly the glory that it is.
Yeah, see, I knew it wasn't on here. Damn it.
I've not revealed a thing. No spoilers. No spoilers. Okay, so that is begin then. And there are some surprises here or there, and it's interesting to see kind of how much our audience lines up with us versus in other cases how they don't line up with us. So
hey, maybe we influenced a lot of people's opinions just from our discussions. We go pretty in depth after all.
Yeah, it's very possible. Fixing people's movie tastes since 2019.
So you're saying The Blob is number one?
It's a lovely thought, isn't it? It's a lovely thought. We shall find out. Starting with number 50. Number 50. It'll also be curious to see, just as we go through this, which ones we've reviewed already and which ones we haven't.
Yeah.
But starting with number 50 is The Road Warrior, Mad Max 2.
Cool.
2.
Probably the best one other than Fury Road.
It was always considered the best one until 2015 when that possibly changed.
I suspect Fury Road will be on this list higher.
It's a really good movie though. It's the one that spoke to me the most out of the first two. I you know what? To this day, I still haven't seen. Pardon me. Beyond Thunderdome.
That's a shame. I mean, it's not as good, but it is pretty fun. It still has a lot more of the. When I think about Mad Max, I do kind of think of Beyond Thunderdome, just because there's so many characters in it that reminds you of that universe. And it's got Tina Turner. She's great.
Yeah, now the second one's really good though, because Road Warrior has it does that thing early on where introduces he's got the shotgun, but he doesn't have any rounds for it, and it kind of like, it becomes then this big part thing in the movie, or even just the idea at the town that he ends up kind of protecting. It's like the reason why the Raiders want it is because they've got an oil tanker, and oil's so rare and so valuable in this post-apocalyptic wasteland that becomes kind of this valuable commodity. I mean, not that countries might or might not go to war over oil and things of that nature, because they very well may, but this is like a microcosm of that with wacky dudes. And even something like the Fallout video games is inspired by how the people in this movie look, and the costumes and the cars and all that kind of stuff. And the Italians have got an entire subgenre from the 80s that was just about ripping off and doing cheap Road Warrior knockoffs. There's tons of them.
I mean, we haven't reviewed the movie yet, so when we talk about it, we'll have a lot more to say. But it is pretty cool to have like these post-apocalyptic, post-apocalyptic worlds where like so much of modern technology is a commodity, like vehicles and gasoline and oil and stuff like that. Whereas, any other movie about the apocalypse would be, you would think we would just revert back to just living off the land and stuff, but not the case when you have no land.
Yeah, well, plus I think the idea that we wouldn't accept that stuff we had before is gone, we'd start fighting for it. Like, that makes a lot of sense to me. So, no, it's a good action movie, and it's definitely much better paced than the first one from what I recall. But it's been a long time since I've watched them, especially the first one. So, when we do get around to doing these movies, it'll be interesting to see how I feel about them and how they hold up and so on. But Road Warrior was always the one that stuck out the most to me out of the two I'd seen. So, cool. Number 49 is Gravity.
Okay. Cool. Fun movie. I only saw it once in the theater, and I was fortunate enough to see it in IMAX, and it felt like a ride, and I've always sort of thought of the movie as a ride and not really much of a movie. I don't know why. I mean, it has all the ingredients. I just always leave it off my list.
I saw it at least I might have seen it 3 times in the theaters. Never in 3D though. I always saw it in 2D. I'd already given up on 3D by that point because just cause I'd have to explain that.
I mean, I'm not a huge fan, but Gravity I thought was kind of worth seeing in 3D.
For me though, like, the music was phenomenal, especially towards the end. I love a character on their own having to do all the problem solving and putting it in space where it's all about try to like orienting yourself and get to the right little stations and whatnot.
Yeah. Plus, how do you get back on Earth when you're just a stranded astronaut in space? Like, it seems like an impossible mission.
It's just
it is a fun like problem solving film.
Yeah, it's super thrilling. It's a thrilling sort of adventure and survival movie. But it's constantly gorgeous because space is just a really pretty thing because it is so simple to look at. So
Gravity inspired our background.
First, yes. I'm surprised you wouldn't say Trek, because if anything, it looks probably the closest to Trek's. Like,
well, I just was taking advantage of what we had right now.
Oh, so you don't
one of the inspirations.
So you don't think Trek will be up on this list then? Maybe you'll be right.
I don't know. Maybe Wrath of Khan will be.
We shall find out, shall we?
Yeah.
We shall find out. But no, Gravity's very good. Gravity's very good, and probably like against like most film buffs, I actually think it's my favorite of Alfonso Cuarón's films. Most people would not agree with me on that, but I think there's something just so well done about it that I dig it, and I've dug it every time I've watched it at home, and it works at home. I've never understood the argument that it only works in the theater. I would fight against that, but because to me, if your movie only works in a theater, if it doesn't work on a different method of delivery, then your movie's a failure, because then it doesn't work as a movie. And I'll stand by that, damn it. And Gravity does, for the record. The sound design is phenomenal as well. So if you've got a good sound system, it really takes advantage of it. Number 48, another recent-ish movie, and that is Dread.
Okay. I mean, I had this a lot higher, but it's obviously I love it. We just watched The Raid not that long ago, and it only reaffirms why I like Dread a lot, because everyone said Dread was like a version of The Raid but lesser, and I couldn't disagree more. So
I think the comparison between them is stupid anyway. I explained that on that that raid review that we did for Patreon, but like I don't think there's, other than the fact that they're in a building, there's really nothing to compare them at all.
I agree. This one, like, I mean, it takes that idea and works with it a lot. Things that I think would have improved The Raid a little bit more, even, is if it was a little bit more like Dread.
But Dread has obviously a great villain. But typically how I describe it is the best John Carpenter movie that's not made by John Carpenter. And that is the praise that I would give it. And I really hope that TV show that's supposed to be set in the same universe in Netflix eventually does actually happen. Because I would kill it. And it feels like it's doable as well. Like, when you watch, it's a really low budget movie. It feels like, yeah, you could do a TV show of this and it wouldn't feel like you have to cut corners or anything like that.
Yeah. And not that you need Carl Urban, but like, he's great. Why not get him if you can?
Yeah,
TV doesn't have the same stigma as it used to.
Yeah, plus he's done TV before anyway. He's done like Fox shows before.
Oh, he's on The Boys, isn't he? Yeah.
Well, even before that though, he did was it Almost Human? Was the Fox show he did? So
I don't know.
He's not. The point being, he's not against TV. Like there's several examples of him doing TV.
Yeah. So, okay.
I wouldn't rule it out. I'd want Anderson back as well, admittedly, but
yeah.
But it's a gritty sci-fi action movie that's grisly and all sorts, and it's something that we will probably be reviewing in the not too distant future for a couple of different reasons.
Mostly, you just got it on 4K.
That's a big one. But we did do 95's Judge Dredd on Patreon like 2 years ago, and we're really overdue for doing Dredd. I just,
Yeah, no arguments from me.
It's just all I'm saying. So, interestingly, that's 3 in a row so far that we have not reviewed yet. The to-do list is building.
gotta leave him wanting more.
And it's 4 in a row because number 47 is Star Wars The Last Jedi.
Oh, cool. I like this one a lot.
I think it's well, I don't know. Last Jedi is kind of a funny one, I suppose, because it's such a civil war among Star Wars fans about it. But I think it maybe speaks to our audience maybe actually not being ultra Star Wars nerds. that this is this slow.
I think it is the best sequel. And I don't just mean of the original films. Like, I like this one more than Empire. And more than Jedi. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I'm not particularly fond of Last Jedi, although for probably different reasons than a lot of the internet likes to yell about. I have pacing, structure, and some, I have...
Yeah, but it's got porks.
I have script writing craft issues with Last Jedi. And I'm also not a huge Star Wars guy, so it's the sort of thing where that stuff like really fails for me in a movie like Last Jedi, because if I don't care enough about the lore of Star Wars to fall back on if I'm not like enjoying it as just a raw movie on its own, as it were.
Well, sure. I mean, I think a lot of Star Wars fans felt betrayed by the decisions made for the film, because it sort of put a magnifying glass to the different tropes that we get in Star Wars all the time. And, it doesn't just get a pass because it's a thing we love. And I think the director really said, no, I'm going to acknowledge that and, make something interesting and new and exciting and beautiful to look at, and plus porks. Like, it's definitely the best sequel.
I appreciate the attempt at all those things. I don't know if it pulls off exciting or some of those other words you threw out there. But I appreciate the attempt, though. Okay. I think that's important, though. I appreciate the attempt that it wasn't just another ho-hum sequel, because I always say that. So I think that is important.
Okay.
But yes, Last Jedi. That's number 47. Number 46. 5 in a row.
Oh my god. Do we even have a podcast?
Well, this one's for sad reasons though. Number 46 is The Abyss, which
Oh, okay.
I love dearly. I haven't seen it in a long
but
time
you
though.
are. We're not going to do it because you're on like this one man protest.
It's unwatchable in its current state. This is not a protest. I just can't do it.
I mean, I watched it when I was a kid. I want to say I had like a copy of it on VHS, or it might have just been something I taped off TV or my father or something. But, yeah, I remember the movie being great, but I was very young.
Yeah, you watched it when the standard was VHS and you had a 20-inch CRT to watch it on. Of course, yes. This is not what we're talking
I had
about.
a big screen TV. It was a huge box.
Well, yeah, but everything you watched on it was all VHS quality. They're all equal in their standard.
Well, I'm just saying my memory of the movie is quite good, and I like it a lot.
Oh, it's great. I
So-
love the movie. I love the underwater
I approve it
setting.
being on the list.
I love the characters. The cast is great. Ed Harris is fantastic in it. Obviously, you do have to watch the director's / special edition because what they take out of it for the theatrical cut is insane. It is insane what they took out of that movie for the theatrical version. So whenever we do eventually get to do this, because they finally did a remaster and we can watch it in HD or dare I say even 4K, then should be the special edition. I will not settle for anything less because that's the important cut. But it's just got aliens in it. And Cameron loves to work with the underwater, and I do genuinely think this is Cameron's underappreciated film. It's the one that gets lost in the shuffle. When
Not
I
Piranha.
think, well, it's Piranha 2, but I mean, I've not seen Piranha 2. But I don't think even he considers that a real James Cameron film. That's just kind of like, that was a work for hire when he didn't have a say in what he was doing.
I'm a big fan of Rambo 2. Or Rambo First Blood Part 2.
I mean, it's a fun movie, but he didn't direct that though.
He wrote it.
Yeah, I know he wrote it, but he also co-wrote Strange Days. But we don't really talk about that, but a Cameron movie either.
Not really.
So, this is great though. But I can't recommend anyone watch it right now because you'd have to watch it in crappy, not just standard definition, you'd have to watch it in non-anamorphic standard definition, which is a whole other kettle of fish. I won't explain what that means because this will go on forever. And I can already see the gears in Tara's head
You see me
turning
check the time.
turning into hate. And then laser beam's going to come through the screen and melt me. Or something to that effect. Yeah, that wasn't menacing at all. Number 45. Above Abyss. Above Dread.
All of these are above Abyss.
Above Gravity. Above Road Warrior. Number 45 is The Hunger Games.
Oh, okay. The first one?
Yeah, the first one, yeah.
Okay. I haven't seen all of them, but I thought I remember the first one not being very good. But sorry. I mean, it has its fan base. It's a cool premise, and it's the right kind of sci-fi. It's ripe for filmmaking. It's got an allegory, got a message. It's puts our society under a microscope, and good ideas. Not a great movie to watch though.
I mean, it only exists as a movie because it was riding the young adult book to movie craze of the time period. Twilight basically is why it was able to be made. That's and to an extent Harry Potter, I guess, as well. But it's kind of a knock-on effect.
I'm not against young adult adaptations, so
well, I'm not saying I am. I'm just saying that that's what it is. It's one of the better examples of it. Like, it's not as painful to get through. And the second movie I remember thinking was all right. I remember the second one being a little bit more interesting.
I think I remember that too. I didn't see the last two-parter one, but I think I saw the rest.
I did, and it suffered because they spread it over two parts, and also because, from what I understand, even the people who like the books don't think the third book is as good. So, that was.
I do remember the first one not being as gory as I was expecting. I don't know why I was expecting that for a young adult.
Well, that was my main complaint.
But, like, the premise of it was like so.
Well,
okay,
I wasn't going to go into this,
but
since you brought it up, my main complaint about the first movie is that for a movie about kids being forced to kill each other, it was far too lighthearted.
yeah, I mean, I guess it's okay that some of them are good, but like, yeah, I was expecting, a bit more. Maybe like, I guess I was expecting Battle Royale, but I shouldn't have been.
Battle Royale's a better movie. I'll just throw that out there. Hunger Games is perfectly fine. It's just fine, and no more.
Yeah, well, it has its fan base, and I understand.
I don't.
I mean, of all the young adult film adaptations, it probably is the best one.
Yeah, it depends what else you count as young adult, I suppose. I'm sure there's probably something technically that's young adult that's actually a really good movie, and I just have to go hunting for it. So,
yeah.
No generalizations here.
Are you telling me?
No, I'm just making
Okay.
a broad statement about our show.
Okay. About generalizations.
I was going to like have a punchline by saying something that was really generalizing, but then you jumped in with a question, so now the moment's gone, and it won't be funny anymore.
Well, there was a significant pause there.
I know, because I was trying to think of what the funny thing should be to say, and I didn't have it yet.
Okay, yeah, my fault.
All right, that's number 45. Number 44, and our streak of we've not reviewed these yet continues with Return of the Jedi.
I mean, I do love it. I am a Star Wars fan. Return of the Jedi was probably my favorite when I was a kid, just because of mostly the opening Jabba's palace scene with all the cool, quirky-looking aliens and the puppets and all. I don't know, just getting to see Luke Skywalker show up as a Jedi in the beginning, like wearing all black, and you're like, okay, he's not the boy from the small moisture farm anymore. That was a very powerful scene. It's good. I really love it, but it's it's good to watch when you're a kid.
I would say it's the weakest of the original three. I do think the fight with Darth Vader at the end is fairly well done, but a lot of the plot on the planet, for the most part, feels oddly like, I don't want to say filler. That's maybe a bit harsh, but it just kind of feels like they had to think of something for the rest of the characters to do. So this is just what they're doing, and the only thing that's really in the movie that matters is the confrontation with Luke and Vader. But it's fine, but it's definitely the weakest of the three for me of the originals.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the opening Jabba's palace stuff. I like the Moon of Endor, but I think that is where it's like it at its weakest for sure.
Do you know what it feels like? It feels like, if you're watching a Star Trek, right? The third movie feels like a lot of the middle of the movie is just one of those random, like, singular episodes that's just kind of uninteresting, and they're just, they're on a planet helping a species or something, and then the last 20 minutes, like the opening in the last 20 minutes are like them remembering to go back to, we're supposed to be here to finishing off the Star Wars story.
Well, it does feel like they had we have to finish Luke's story, but what is everyone else going to do? Okay, well, there's going to be another Death Star.
Yes, which is about the most uninspired thing they could have possibly.
But it's still fun, and when you're a kid, it's another Death Star is an amazing reveal.
Sure.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
Watching it as an adult, it does feel like a step back.
Yeah, this was always my least favorite, even when I first saw them when I was like 10. This was always the one that just felt a bit weirder to me.
I don't think I knew that there was such a thing as a bad movie until I was like 16.
So you saw Good Burger in theaters then, did you? And thought this is gold.
If there was a movie I didn't really enjoy, I thought, well, I'll like it more when I'm older, I'm sure.
Well, the Good Burger. You saw Good Burger. Thought, you know what?
I've never seen Good Burger.
This is one that I'm not going to get the nuances of until I'm at least 18.
I've never seen Good Burger. No. There's some movies that I just knew I wasn't the demographic for. Plus, I think I was older when that film came out. I don't know. I didn't grow up with Nickelodeon shows.
That was like 98-ish. I want to say 97, 98. So I don't know.
Keenan's in it, right?
Yeah, Keenan and Kel.
I've never seen Keenan and Kel, but I've seen Keenan because he's been on Saturday Night Live for like 20 years.
That was the appeal of Good Burger. I didn't even, because it was actually like a spin-off of a sketch show that we're also on, because they had a sketch on the show that was Good Burger, and that's what became the movie. But that never aired in the UK as far as I know, or if it did, it didn't air as often as Keenan and Kel. So to me, it was just a Keenan and Kel movie, and I was like, oh, they gave them these wacky characters. But
okay.
But
well, this is not on our list, so let's move on.
Well, this is how interesting Return of the Jedi is, okay?
Surely we have more to say about Return of the Jedi, but that's okay.
Well, not review the Star Wars movies yet. I'm saving all my good material for when we review them.
Okay, good material.
What do you mean? We have good material.
Yeah, let's move on. What's the next one?
Don't diss. The one thing that we have as a show is material. And the only hope that we are good is that material is in fact of the good variety. And you just implied that we do not have said thing.
No, I'm assuming your good material that you're saving for is like your tight 5 that you're going to have on your Star Wars like hatred. That's what I'm skeptical of.
We shall see. We shall see.
Okay.
We shall see. Oh, those Star Wars reviews are going to get me a lot of hate. So, 43. Number 43. The streak of us not reviewing something continues. Number 43 is very different to everything so far, I'd say, and that is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Yeah, we haven't reviewed it, but we love it.
Yes, it's a very good film. It's very different from everything else so far as well, so good performances from Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet. It's the sort of the more cerebral, trippy sci-fi of someone having their memory erased of a relationship because it's too painful to deal with, but then realizing over the course of the film that they'd rather keep the memories and remember the love they had than, you know, better to have loved than lost and something.
Yeah, a very very deep film, very very cool sci-fi, like almost comedy sci-fi, and it is very out there, very weird, but
it's very indie drama in its feeling though.
Yeah, everything's very strong. All the performances, even the ideas, and the even the like, so much of it takes place in the mind of a character, and like where those opportunities of what you can do with like the sets and the enclosed feeling of being trapped in somebody's mind with them, like it's really really well done, and it does seem like a very indie film when you watch it, but I don't think it is.
It's relative. I think it's relatively. I mean, it is focus feature, so it's not that indie. But like, you know, I think it's a low budget movie though, for sure. Like, you know, Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet were by far the most expensive things on the bill sheet.
Yeah, Elijah Wood was available.
Elijah Wood doesn't cost a lot. You know what? It doesn't even matter that it was right after Lord of the Rings. He was still, you know, promised him a couple of pizzas, and he was probably there. He was probably game.
Probably. He's a good dude. He'd work for pizza.
So that's Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Number 42, the streak continues. Children of Men.
You know, I've not seen it.
Well, that'll be an interesting one to review then if it's a first time watch for you when we get there. I have seen it. It is
I've
a very
seen clips from it.
it's a
That's all.
very well made movie. It's also a very oppressive and depressing movie in its tone and its
Mhm.
atmosphere. But it is very memorable as a result of that, and it's got a lot of things going for it. The direction is a standout thing, but there's a lot of interesting ideas. There's some wonderful sequences where the camera, there'll be a winner, or there's a great sequence with a lot of trickery involved where they sort of did this spinning shot from inside a car, and they sort of did like a lot of a scene from with just this one shot inside the car. But given on what's going on outside the car, it's actually quite impressive they were able to pull it off. So it's yeah, a technical marvel if nothing else. I've only seen this the once, I think, so even for me, like, I can't really talk about anything else why it's great because it's been too
Yeah.
long. But
Well, sometimes the really depressing ones are hard to rewatch.
yes, I agree. So there you go. That is Children of Men at number 42, and at number 41, the streak is broken. Finally, something that we have reviewed in our 120 plus episodes. Number 41 is The Truman Show.
All right, we love this one.
We do.
This was a really, really fun rewatch, and like a nice rewatch to, people can kind of dismiss The Truman Show as like a great sci-fi film. Like, it doesn't come up on any list really, except for ours and obviously our audience because they're great.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well, they're not that
it
great.
was
They're not that great. It should be higher. That's not.
well, we'll see where Mystery Science Theater ranks. But but yeah, this was just such a fun rewatch after so much time has passed too, because not only does it hold up, but it ages really well given the themes
yeah.
of like not surveillance, but like what we do, even like just putting our lives out there on the internet, and so many people wanting to share everything that they do all the time.
Is that a new Patreon tier? You get 24 hours of Peter. Yeah. Watch me brush my teeth in the morning.
It's your life.
Are people into that idea? Nah. You gotta have some off time. You gotta be able to switch off occasionally and just have no one seeing your just miserable face as you stare at the internet in despair because we're
Yeah.
all doomed.
Plus, you'll have to like move the camera yourself for when you want to like use the bathroom, and then the camera moves into an open window with the curtain blowing.
See, when we get to the point that we've seen in some sci-fi shows where the camera can be on a little sort of really smart drone that I can just kind of control with a little remote.
Mm-hmm.
Having to actually physically hold the camera would make all this 24/7 Big Brother shit really hard to pull off. So.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll get there soon with technology. I mean, we won't be able to feed everybody, but at least we'll have that.
Tara got very political there for a second, out of nowhere.
It's just water. It is just water. I'm not drinking.
I wasn't accusing you of drinking. I was just.
Well, I'm just letting people know, because a lot of these lists, I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just sip on some gin while we do these.
All right, so number 41 Truman Show. By all means, check out our review of the film. It was a good discussion, and it's a great film. So yeah, but a bit too low for my taste, so I'll say that much.
I agree.
A bit too low. Number 40, we're back to things that we have not reviewed, and that is Ex Machina.
Yeah, another really great one, especially like in the last decade too. I was thinking about this movie earlier. I can't remember why, but Alicia Vikander's performance is really quite exceptional in it also. And everybody's good. I mean, there's only like 4 people in the film, and they're all really good. But just a really, really good sci-fi that gets under your skin when you think about it later.
It's obviously it's dealing with themes that a lot of sci-fi deals with. So, you got the AI, you got the robot, you got is she becoming sentient? Is she becoming true artificial intelligence? You've got all those themes. You've got the themes of what is humanity, what is freedom, all those things. But it is presented as this kind of weird case study because it is just these 3 characters who are in a secluded house. And Not that Tara was wrong with the number. There is a fourth, but the fourth one's kind of separate and different. And
She's like the assistant.
yeah,
Yeah.
She has. I don't even think she has a single line of dialogue in the whole movie.
She can dance though.
She can. She can dance. Yes. So there is that. So can Oscar Isaac.
Yeah. Who is like almost unrecognizable in the film.
Yeah, he shaved his head. He's got a big, great
It's
bushy
amazing.
beard.
It's amazing how much that changes somebody's look, like to where they, I don't know, like he even looked shorter than he does in other movies.
I think it's because he has bare feet the whole time.
Maybe.
He's walking about his barefoot. Just 'cause,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's his fancy secluded house, I guess. As what it is. But
I think his assistant was also very tall.
yes, it's a cool movie though, and obviously it's one we'll review at some point,
Hmm.
for sure. But
We gotta get through a lot of trash before we can watch the good stuff. Though.
X Machina. We should play good things, as we'll find out that the higher we go up this list, perhaps. Although we don't get to go all the way today. Today's only up to 26, so we'll see how that goes. All right, so Ex Machina number 40. Number 39. And this just tells me that more people need to see this movie. Number 39 is Stalker. Andrei Tarkovsky's wonderful film.
Yeah.
Which
I have not seen.
you've not seen, which is fun because, to be honest, when we get to do it on the show, it'll be really interesting to see how you react to it and read it, because it's a very different type of science fiction. It's a very suggestive science fiction film as opposed to actually having literal sci-fi like in your face like happening.
I'm out. I'm just kidding.
I was very impressed with it, and it kind of, was, admittedly, yes, it was scratching a lot of film snob boxes, but it really was scratching them. It was scratching them good. It was getting right in there. But it's just this leads to such wonderful conversation. Me and Connor actually reviewed this before we had this podcast, which is why it's kind of waiting until sometime later when enough time has passed. But that is easily one of the best conversations we've ever had was after we watched Stalker. So I cannot recommend. I mean, the premise for anyone is curious. It's a Russian film, and there's something has landed in the section, but it's all kind of rumor, right? It's called The Zone, and a stalker in this context is someone who leads people in because they believe if they can get to the center of the zone, they'll find the room, and in that room they'll be granted a wish. So the movie's about the journey into the zone, which is guarded by the military, and there's a lot of parallels to things. It's a really interesting film to go back to after seeing Chernobyl, for example, because a lot of what it's doing is an allegory for stuff like that. Even though it was made before Chernobyl happened, but there was other minor incidents by comparison to Chernobyl.
So it's about the regime of the Soviet Union then? Okay.
Well,
cool.
in part, not just, but in part.
Well, I mean, I know it's based off a book, like a picnic at something, I can't remember, but I have heard that book is also quite worth reading. It's very good. If only I knew what the name was. I'm going to look it up.
But that's Stalker. Number 38. We're back to something we've reviewed. Number 38 is The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Oh, that's a wonderful one.
In fact, it was our very first review. It's not just something we did review. It was our very first episode. Now, obviously, very political for its time. Had a lot of messages in it about nuclear weapons and about aggression, and is still very relevant to this day. Maybe not the nuclear warheads part specifically, but
no, but the political side of things and the frustration of how humanity would handle a warning, a global threat, even. Even though the movie was, obviously not around during like awareness of global warming and climate change. So much of it is just a great parallel for it, and it's just because it's just the way the world works. Like people just respond with, "It's not my fault, therefore I don't have to do anything."
Mm-hmm.
And not taking threats seriously. And there's a really great scene between our visitor in the film and a child, and just the way that the child mind works and asks the right questions and says, well, that sounds dumb. And you're like, yeah, the kid gets it. Like, why does all this other stuff have to be in the way? Really, really great film. First time watch for me when we reviewed it, and I loved it. Like, it really set the bar for this sci-fi movie podcast.
And it is 70 years old this year.
Unbelievable.
I know. It's old. It's an old movie.
Yeah.
So that's cool. No, it's a great movie. It's a great film. It holds up. Don't watch the remake. You've been warned.
We haven't watched it yet. I watched it in theaters, and I don't even remember any of it.
Good.
Although I remember Gort having like nanite things come out of his eyes. I remember that.
Of course, the CG, they had to do fancy shit like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't enough to just have a better looking robot. They had to like do lots of tinkering and wacky over the top stuff. So number 37 is back to something we've not reviewed, and it's actually very related to something we've already mentioned, and that is Annihilation. And the reason why it's related to something we've already mentioned is because it's very much a spiritual, like, not remake, but it's definitely spiritually very, very inspired by Stalker. It's actually kind of weird, just how much it is kind of a similar idea. It's not as like theoretical as Stalker. Like, it actually does, it has things happen in front of them. So it's a bit more sort of, I guess, traditional, although it's still very trippy. It's a very trippy kind of sensibility to it. It's a solid movie from the same director, Alex Garland, as Ex Machina. I will say, though, that having seen Stalker did hurt this one a little bit for me, because I think I was comparing it a little bit, and it didn't compare favorably. As much as it's higher on this list, I would speculate that's just because it's a new movie that more people who submitted lists have seen versus Stalker, because Stalker absolutely should be above it. But yes.
Right. I love Annihilation. I have not seen Stalker. The book, by the way, was called Roadside Picnic. I looked it up. But this is also based off a book. It's off the Area X trilogy, which I did read, and pretty faithful adaptation. A little bit difference at the end, but I think the movie works really well as a standalone versus like the book trilogy, which answers a lot more questions. I like how vague the movie ends, and I wouldn't say vague, but like
ambiguous.
Yeah, I guess it's a bit. Oh, the stars did the thing again.
They did,
and
but you can't. You can't say that. Actually, that didn't happen in this episode. So that's a reference to something that the audience may not even know what you're talking about.
All right. Well, you can make a note.
No, I don't want to edit that. That's a waste of my time. But I'm just.
Well, it's happened before in another thing.
I'm just saying, just don't mention it. Don't acknowledge it. Did it happen? No one saw anything.
Got it.
There was no star speed up here.
We didn't go to warp speed. Anyway, yeah, the movie is very dreamlike, very it almost, it feels like relaxing. like you're looking at these really grotesque abominations of very familiar things on Earth, and but it's just so beautiful the way it's recreated, and probably one of my favorite scenes in the last decade in films is the one with the scene with the bear. Just so monstrous and terrifying, and really, really good movie.
It stuck out. It was unique enough to stand out. I'll say that much. So that's Annihilation at number 37. Number 36, something else we haven't reviewed yet, is Her. Her.
Egg.
I love Her. Her is
yeah.
is a tremendous film about love and loss and loneliness and the performance. I mean, Joaquin Phoenix, of course, is a great actor. Scarlett Johansson is a great actor when she's given something decent to work with. I say that, because recently Black Widow came out and,
I liked it.
yeah, but it wasn't exactly she got anything to act with. It was just kind of like, here's generic stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of consistent with her character throughout the Marvel series, though.
Sure, but doesn't make it any little more interesting.
Well, I liked it, and I really like this film. I think I think you're right. It's a very interesting love story in the not too distant future setting, and it's amazing how much you fall in love with Scarlett Johansson when you watch it too.
Yeah, and just to actually reiterate what the premise of this is, for anyone who doesn't know, is about a man who falls in love with his operating system on his phone, voiced by Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
That was the premise. And it's oddly sweet, and it's actually, I would compare it, it's not exactly the same, there's differences, but me and Connor did a movie a few years ago called Lars and the Real Girl, starring Ryan Gosling, and it's about a guy who says he's got a girlfriend, but he keeps showing up with this blow-up doll. And I say that, and you're thinking this is some dumb, stupid comedy, and it is the most sincere, sweet drama about someone going through a crisis, and like everyone around them, like basically being there for him and supporting him in the best. But it's so wholesome, like I couldn't believe it. And this is kind of the same thing where you could sort of see how this could become a stupid comedy if it was handled in another way.
Chris Pratt is in it.
Chris Pratt is in it in a small role. But it doesn't do that. It's actually got something to say. It's trying to talk about the themes. It's trying to... Her's phenomenal. It's a phenomenal little film.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to us reviewing that at some point.
It's also kind of a remake of a Futurama episode where Bender falls in love with the operating system on the ship. It's cool. She's voiced by Sigourney Weaver. And she becomes murderous at the end.
Like, I'm not going to say for sure that her wasn't inspired by a Futurama episode, but because I don't know, maybe Spike Jonze like watched the episode, had a thought, said I can do even more with this, but I'm not reducing it to Futurama did it first.
It's a great show.
So anyway, so that is her at number 36. Number 35 is something we have reviewed, and that is Edge of Tomorrow.
Woohoo! Sorry, I did my impression of Sabrina the Teenage Witch there.
You can keep going. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I like this movie. I think there's a lot of really strong qualities about it. I think the core arc is good. I love Bill Paxton's role in this.
So good.
I don't love it quite as much as you do.
Yeah, I love it a lot.
As we learned in the review, but I think there's a couple of third act, like we have to just get a bit more generic to end the story.
No, the third act is when like shit's for real. You gotta take things. Like, there's no going back now.
Stay careful of spoilers.
I'm not saying any spoilers.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Careful.
I know.
Okay.
I love it. Everyone should watch it. It's a better version of Groundhog Day. Boom.
I would agree. I like it more than Groundhog Day, but I don't like it as much as Happy Death Day, though.
Well, that's where we differ.
What can I say? Yes, Edge of Tomorrow. Time loop, day repeating, aliens. So big budget action mixed with Groundhog Day style premise. There you go.
Looking forward to the sequel. If that's still a thing.
If it ever happens, which I'm not convinced that will at this point.
Me neither.
Quite frankly. Number 34 is Total Recall.
Woo! Wait, which one?
It's the original. Yes. I can't remember if anyone dared to put the remake on their list, but if you did, shame on you.
I don't know. I haven't seen it. I just assume it's bad.
I haven't seen it
It's
either.
not Verhoeven.
But I don't care. Shame on you.
Shame on people who remade a Verhoeven movie. I mean, Total Recall is great. I love the I don't know. I just Arnold. I love Arnold. Michael Ironside.
That's fair. Yes, Michael Ironside is delightful. I concur with this.
I think it's a really fun ride. And I really like the question that it poses at the very end of the film, which you and I disagree on interpretation.
Yeah. I was pleasantly surprised. Not that I thought it was bad before, because I grew up watching Total Recall, but I hadn't seen it in a long time, and I didn't. I kind of had it in my head as kind of like mid-tier Arnold, and don't get me wrong, it's not at the top of the list by any means. There's a couple of things that are definitely higher than it, but it definitely was elevated when I watched it again for the show, and I was like, you know what, this is actually even better than I remembered it being, and I was glad I did. So it's got the one-liners, it's got the action, it's got a lot more variety of locations and sets, because it's a lot of it's set on Mars and this future where that's normal and they've colonized and all the rest of it. Sharon Stone's in there. There's kind of a femme fatale style character.
There's a lady with 3 boobs.
There is a lady with 3 boobs,
which leads to a really great line.
What was the line? I've forgotten it now.
Oh, baby, you make me wish I had 3 hands.
Yes.
That's the other reason that was there. I mean, Mars is full of mutants, and
I know.
Those are really...
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
In the review, I had a response to that, but I can't remember if I cut it out because it was too dodgy. So I'm not going to repeat it. I'm not going to repeat it in case I did cut it out because it would be too dodgy. And even if I didn't,
check out our review, see if it's still there, and give it a like.
See if my lewd comment in response to the 3 hands was still in there. I might have cut it out because I said it was too graphic.
I do really like the visual effects or the practical effects in the film. Like there's a really disturbing one that's kind of gross and hard to watch, but it's also so fascinating, and like just how they did it and all. And it's of like a guy who's attached to another person. I mean, you know who I'm talking about if you've seen the film, and it's it's like it's one of the things that I took away from the film watching it as an adult, because as a kid you watch it and you're like, ooh, it's gross, and then great, and then when you're an adult it's like, I don't want to eat food for a little while.
Yes, it's wonderful. I want to quote a line from the movie, but it's quite late on in the movie, so I don't want to give it away. But
is it about seeing someone at a party?
It is about seeing someone at a party, yes. So, Total Recall at number 34. Number 33 is one that we have not reviewed, but I very much look forward to the day that we do, and that is Moon, starring Sam Rockwell. About a man who is working a solo mission. He's just kind of there to maintain things on this little base on the moon, because there's like minerals or something that they're mining. Mostly done by robots. He just sort of, make sure it's all running properly. But then, very early on in the film, he discovers a clone of himself, or a duplicate of himself, or whatever way you want to phrase it. But there's a second Sam Rockwell, and it's like, okay, what's going on? And it's kind of this discovery, and it does a lot of really smart things about how it tells you what his character arc is based on the 2 different versions of him, and just stuff like that. It's really, really smart storytelling that, unfortunately, Duncan Jones, the director, has since lost, seemingly.
Didn't he do Warcraft?
You say that as if it's going to counterpoint what I just said. And
yeah,
I don't believe it is.
I saw a man polymorph someone into a sheep. That's a great film.
Well, I also saw Mute that came after, which was
Yeah, I did not see that.
on paper should have been good, but then was like extremely dodgy in so many ways, and it left me just wondering what happened to the director that I fell in love with Moon. And enjoyed again with Source Code, but Moon was the one.
Source Code is good.
But it was definitely a bit of a step down though, because Moon was like phenomenal.
Yeah, but it also has Kevin Spacey in it.
It's got the voice of Kevin Spacey in it, and
It's gross.
well, yeah, but you're going to ignore it because Kevin Spacey voice is a computer.
I mean, it knocks it down a point now.
It's not affecting me. I wouldn't knock 7 down because Kevin Spacey happens to be in it.
No, I know. I'm just teasing.
American Beauty.
Although I don't like his voice.
American Beauty is maybe the exception, just because the subject is so similar to,
Yeah.
Life. But other than that, but Moon is very good, and I highly recommend it.
Agreed.
Number 32 is A Clockwork Orange.
Ooh, we got our first Kubrick.
You assume there's more.
I mean, I didn't mean to laugh there, but I assume, that there is more. Yeah, I think this is a fantastic satire about just being part of the status quo and what your environment does to you. I think it is like a nature versus nurture story, but it takes place in a not too distant future, but a future that is like very violent and breeds violence, basically.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a lot to say. It's a Kubrick movie, so it's shot well, and I think McDowell's performance is exceptional.
It's stark, it's uncomfortable, it is... Well, it's a bit of the old ultra-violence, I suppose, to put into a phrase.
A little bit of the ultra-violence.
But yeah, it feels like a deranged world, and it's very quirky and unique, and it's because other movies do deranged futures or depressing futures or dystopian futures. This is a dystopian future all into itself and all into its own weird sensibilities. And I'm sure some of that is probably from the book, but a lot of it, I imagine, does come from how Kubrick chose to shot it, and there's a very stark style to the cinematography and all these things. So it's a great film, wonderful, but definitely one. Like, I'm pretty lenient when it comes to I don't think you have to be 18 to watch Die Hard, but A Clockwork Orange is one that I'm like, no, wait till they're.
It's an R.
Yeah. Wait till they're really maybe not 18, but 16 certainly. Wait till they're at least 16 before you're showing someone A Clockwork Orange.
Yeah. Also, I mean, it tends to be like a Halloween costume for like 18-year-olds anyway around here. I don't know. Like, maybe there's a certain age where like young men get like the wrong message from the film, kind of like the Joker or something like that, where something resonates with them and they're like, I want to be this guy. I don't know. It's
that's unhealthy.
Something I've noticed.
Unhealthy is what I'll call that.
It's a red flag. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, they get over it.
Yes. But side note here, though, it does have also one of the best porn parody titles that ever existed, which is A Clockwork Orgy, which is just phenomenal punning, quite frankly.
I always like the Boner Collector.
Tell me the villain in that is a woman. Just
I've never seen it.
but I hope it is. I hope that's actually I hope that's the plot, is that the villain's collecting like
boners,
having sex with men and then cutting it off because she's collecting boners.
Lorena Bobbitt's all of them. Yeah, I don't think so.
She's just got like a rack in the wall with all the.
I just watched Hellraiser. That sounds like a Hellraiser thing.
This is my wall of, Anyway,
my collection.
All right. Moving on swiftly. To 31. Star Trek 4: The Voyage Home.
Ooh. Yeah, it's probably the best one.
What did
Am
I
I allowed to
say?
acknowledge it now?
No, what did I say? What did I say? I said don't acknowledge it.
We just went to warp speed during the Star Trek reveal.
Now we're talking about it even more because now we're like, should we acknowledge it? Do we acknowledge it?
Okay, the stars just went to warp speed. When you said Star Trek 4, it's appropriate to acknowledge it. All right, I won't say anymore, but yeah. I don't know. I go, back and forth on what my favorite Star Trek movie is because they're all 10s, so it's hard to like
Oh, come on.
pick, but when I was growing up, 4 was my favorite.
Star Trek Insurrection,
fun.
a 10.
Yeah.
No.
I'm not going to spoil why.
No. No.
Have you seen it?
Yes, I've seen it.
So then you know.
Yeah, it was like a bad episode of Next Gen. I concur.
Insurrection's great. It opens up with a Gilbert and Sullivan song.
I don't know who that is. But anyway, so yes, Star Trek 4 is actually my favorite of the Star Trek movies. It is just so fun having the time travel element where they travel back to present day of 1984 or 86. I think it was 86. And interacting with people in San Francisco. There's just so much fun of having them interact with the real world as it was known at the time that it's impossible not to just find a lot of it charming. It's impossible. And it makes a couple of bold moves towards the end as well, I think, that I don't think most movies with this plot would do. So
Yeah, I agree.
There's a lot to love in Star Trek for The Voyage Home.
Yeah. I mean, this one always was my favorite one growing up. I think 5's my favorite now.
Because you're a weirdo?
I'm as a super fan.
Been hit in the head a few too many times?
I love the slice into the brain of William Shatner, and that's what we get in 5. But I should make a Spock's brain joke, but oh well, it's too late now. But 4 has all the right messages. It's actually a Save the Whales movie, which was very important at the time and still is important if you ask me as an environmentalist. And yeah, it's great. It's funny. We get Spock in his weird outfit, his terry cloth uniform. Good movie. Great movie. 10 out of 10. One day we'll review them.
I'll just move on to number 30.
Okay.
Which is Star Trek 2: The Wrath of Khan.
Wow. I figured this one would be the highest, so I don't think we're getting it anymore. If we do, it could be Undiscovered Country or maybe even First Contact, but unless there's some like weirdos who love the motion picture the most.
Motion picture's great.
It is great. It is a 10 out of 10. Totally.
Yeah, but you just said Insurrection's a 10 out of 10, so you're compromised. Your opinion's compromised on this subject.
I do actually really love the motion picture. I think it's the best looking of all of them.
I can get on board with that, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, 2 is probably the most iconic. I think people who were disappointed, fans who were disappointed with the direction of the motion picture, got what they wanted, which was a movie that linked back to the original show. It was mostly like Kirk versus villain. There were some really great special effects that had to be made and all the model work. And we got Ricardo Montalban in his most macho performance, other than maybe Naked Gun. More macho than Naked Gun.
I just came back to who was Naked Gun?
Ricardo Montalban.
Oh, of course, he's the villain in that too. That's right. He's the evil businessman. That's right. I'm picturing
with the weird zebrafish.
Yeah, I'm now picturing Leslie Nielsen, going around the office and like dropping the pen in the fish tank and so on and so on.
Yeah.
And looking up Priscilla Presley's legs, which have like 10 knees. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that with the cameras going up her legs and it keeps hitting more knees. Yeah.
Actually, I don't really remember that, but
it was a joke. It was in the second movie, but there was definitely a joke with her legs where it kept going and going, and just there kept being more knees and more knees, and she has long legs was the joke, obviously.
She's a very striking woman.
Yes. Yeah, no, Ratha Khan is great. I do like 4 more. I also like motion picture more, which paints me in the weirdo category, I guess. But it has.
I only said weirdo because I knew you love it.
Yeah. But it has the conflict. It has the sort of the more menacing villain. Well, it actually has a villain. The first movie doesn't really have a villain in the strictest sense. But which is kind of something that I love about it, to be honest. But there's obviously a place for this movie to exist. This one did have to happen. There had to be a Star Trek movie that had this sort of vibe to it.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why many people love it and think it's the best one. For me, it's like third place, but better than Final Frontier. I'll say that much. I mean, a lot of it's better. It's also better than Search for Spock, and it's better than Undiscovered Country. It's a good movie. It's a great movie, even. But I'm being a little facetious because I happen to love 1 and 4 more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, how do you really choose? They're all so good.
Again, your opinion on the subject is compromised.
Maybe. I am a super fan, so I think people could trust me. 5 is incredible. It's just such an incredible movie to watch. I mean, William Shatner writes himself into free climbing the El Capitan. It is like what, his late 50s, early 60s? It's hard to tell because he ages pretty quickly. Yeah.
Tara, you can't say that people can trust me and then immediately follow up with the sentence, Star Trek 5 is amazing. You can't have those two things back to back. You sound like a used car salesman, okay?
But it's there's no lies. Like
there's a lie.
Genuine Tara.
There's lies detected.
How dare you? This is genuine Tara. I genuinely enjoy, love Star Trek 5.
I believe that you believe that.
Okay.
That's where we are with this. Someone get the straitjackets ready. Number 29 is one that we have reviewed, and that is 12 Monkeys.
Yeah, okay. This was an interesting rewatch because when this movie came out, like, I thought it was so incredible and like smart, and I do think it's smart still. I just don't think it's I don't have it on the same pedestal as I used to.
Yeah, and I was on the record as not really been in love with it the first time I saw it, and then watching it again for the show, I just had all the same problems again. It didn't budge for me at all.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. I think the ending was just such a mind-blowing experience to watch the first time that I enjoyed rewatching it like as soon as possible so that I can like see all the connecting pieces, and just maybe young stupid Tara watching movies thinking that this was the greatest thing that ever came out. But yeah, I had it was an interesting rewatch. Now I have a better picture of where it stands in my zeitgeist.
Is this the first one, at least out of the ones that we've actually reviewed, that we are actually not that hot on it? But clearly people are, because it's ranking this highly.
Probably. I mean, I suspect there'll be other ones.
It's possible, yeah, very possible. But I'm just like, because this one sticks out to me as like, you are lower than you used to be, right? So maybe you're lukewarm is maybe a good way to describe you at this point on this movie.
Yeah, there's still a lot in it that I love. It's just not as like, if you had asked me before we rewatched it, it may even be in like my top 20, just from memory.
Yeah, but it's okay. Not lukewarm then. It sounds more positive than that. But the point being is that you were definitely lore on it than you originally were, and I was just in the I don't like this movie camp. Like, so
Yeah.
this one sticks out to me as just being the fan base clearly likes this more than we do, which is fair. You know what? Rock your socks off. But Leisure T's better. It's basically the same idea with all the fat cut out of it.
Yeah, Leisure Day was really good. That was a surprise. I mean, it's just a short film, and it's mostly done in images, but you're right, it does convey like a similar type of storytelling.
Which we did review as well. When we did 12 Monkeys, I said, no, we need to do this as like a bonus bit at the end. We have to.
Yeah,
like,
we talked about it for like 15 minutes, but
Yeah.
it was definitely like a good pair to watch together.
Yeah. Interesting bit of Leisure T, because it's only like 20 minutes, 25 minutes, whatever it is. When I put it on to watch, because it was on a service that sort of, showed classy movies, I didn't know it was a short film when I clicked on it. So when it ended at 25 minutes, I was like, wait, what? It's over? What happened? Where's the movie?
Did you forget that short films were a thing?
Yeah, I don't tend to seek them out just because, I don't know. I look for movies, but yeah, whatever. That's what it is. But yeah, 12 Monkeys, highly overrated as far as I'm concerned. But, people be people. Like we like.
It's definitely unique.
Number 28 is Cube.
Not seen it.
You haven't seen Cube? Well, we'll do Cube at some point. Cube is about as low budget and as we can do this attitude as as you get. They had one set where they changed the color of it and they made it look like they were going into different cubes, and it's a mystery as to why they're there. And some of the cubes are trapped, and they have to try and figure out how to get out. And that's basically the movie. And it is so simple, but it is so effective, and it's fairly well directed. And some of the acting's a little bit on the the ropier side, but nothing like so like bad that it takes you out of the movie. It's kind of like a high quality B movie in a lot of ways, but it's such a cool setting and inspired. It became a cult favorite very quickly when it came out.
Sounds very Twilight Zone.
A little bit. I'm looking for that'll be a fun one to talk about. That'll be a fun one to cover when we get to it. So it's good. Yeah, I'll just leave that there. Number 27 is Under the Skin.
Ooh, cool.
Which we have not done yet, right?
No. We've talked about it on other lists, though.
Yeah.
Because obviously this one shows up on all of your lists. And on mine, too. I think I included it. I really love the film.
What do you mean, obviously?
Because, I mean, you always talk about it.
Okay.
More so in the beginning of the podcast, you would always bring it up.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's a good movie. It is very Kubrickian, dare I say?
That's what I said.
It's Kubrickian.
You made fun of me when I said that, but
Did
it's
I?
stuck. Yeah.
Well, clearly it planted a seed that is festered, like
Yes.
like a bit of mold in the back of my brain.
It's not how mold works.
Shut up. No, but like it's like super stylized. It's it's the sort of thing where if you're not into art house movies, you're gonna hate it. But
You're gonna hate that.
but there's this atmosphere and this sense of like just observing humanity and this alien who's shown up in Scotland and luring men in somewhere and killing them is just this methodical, cold, harsh existence. And then of course there's an arc, of course there's like things the alien kind of comes to learn and understand, and gets curiosity and stuff like that. But
Who is the real monster?
Zack Snyder.
It was man all along.
Just the one. His name is Zack.
No, yeah, I agree. I refer to it as Kubrickian because of its style and just the overall like feeling you get when you watch it. It is very like cold is a good description of the of the film. Like it's shot in a way without any kind of warmth or empathy. Some of the things that are happening are just so horrific, and you can see that their main character, who's an alien, feels nothing. And yeah, like you said, there is an arc, but like the first like hour of the film is so unsettling just with what you're watching.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I loved it. There was hard not to love it the first time I saw it, and I've seen it a few times now, and like it's held up to repeat viewings. If anything, it's gotten better because I've been thinking about what the movie's about, throughout, and sort of seeing how that journey goes. But no, wonderfully stylized piece of filmmaking is Under the Skin, which actually takes us on to the final entry of this half
All right.
of the list, and that, funnily enough, is Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh, okay.
See, we bookended with Mad Max, which is just coincidental, but here we are. We started with Road Warrior and we're ending with Fury Road.
Love it.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, I think there's a good place for it. Like, obviously, it's like one of the best movies of the last decade, and really like blew people's mind when it came out. Like, it's very much we didn't know we wanted it until we saw the trailer, and then it was like, oh yeah. Like, I know it is, like a reboot, sequel thing, prequel even, I have no idea where it takes place in the timeline of Mad Max, but it felt so fresh to get a movie that wasn't a
I really don't think
superhero.
any of
Go
those
ahead.
questions are important in the movie. It's just, he's Mad Max, just go with
Yeah.
it. That's it.
Just go with it. It's just another story, another tale.
Yeah.
And it is, but it was so cool to get something that just looked beautiful and had all this like incredible stunts, like, and not just like the Mission Impossible stunts, like just so many people all coordinating and like, being limited to what the technology is in this post-apocalypse. It's just so creative and simple and stylized, and it was just such a refreshing thing to get when all the blockbuster movies were the same.
Yeah, no, it's a great action movie. It's such a simple premise, which is that the entire movie's this chase with the bad guys chasing down our heroes and everything that comes from the complications of that. The score's wonderful. The action, which is as much as it can be as like legit stunt work, makes it an exhilarating movie. And I will always remember that Matt thought it looked bad from the trailers, and I said, Matt, I don't know, it looks like it might be quite good. And he really was convinced that it wasn't going to be that good. I had to kind of talk him into go to see it, and he has never more gladly ate crow than after seeing Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah,
I always recall that. But
that's strange because the trailer was like so exciting.
the trailer was great. The trailer was clearly indicating the good movie, but for some reason, I don't know, Matt just didn't see it until he got the movie. Which, whatever. It's not a big deal in the long run, but it's just, yeah. But no, it's a fantastic film, and it was an experience in the theater, and it's one of the very few examples of a franchise coming back and not sucking and not making us go, why did you bring this back? And it's an even rarer example of coming back and maybe being the best example in the franchise, which is even more rare. So credit where credit's due. George Miller still has it as the key thing. And we're getting a Furiosa prequel next, apparently, from George Miller, which is not what I would have picked, but you know what? I'll give it a chance. We'll see how it goes.
Hey, yeah, George Miller is great. He did all the Mad Max films. He's done Babe 2, Pig in the City, also 10 out of 10s. That's not a lie. Those movies are exceptional. They're so good.
I thought you were going to say Happy Feet, which he also did, but
It's okay.
Do you know that George Miller almost did a Justice League movie?
What could have been?
Years before. Although, if I remember correctly, they cast Armie Hammer as Batman, so maybe a bullet was dodged in the long run.
Maybe. I mean, how long ago would it have been though?
It was like in between Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises. It was in that kind of period.
Mm.
So, you know, in
Yeah.
hindsight, it'd be really awful to have to go back and watch a good, otherwise good movie and go, oh no, but the Batman's into necrophilia or something. You know, like,
I know, what a weirdo.
well, maybe it wasn't necrophilia. It was like eating people. It was more cannibalism, but whatever.
Yeah. It's yeah. It's so weird ego sex thing.
Yes, the Winklevoss twins. No.
He needs help.
Anyway, what a weird note to end it on, but that is the first half of the top 50 sci-fi movies as voted for by our audience. Couple of things that should be higher, and there's a couple of things that I think are overrated, but for the most part, a lot of the movies I'd have expected to show up are showing up. So we'll see. And the fact that Star Trek 2 and 4 were back to back tells me that a lot of people had them in either similar places or
Mhm.
or they're equally loved more or less, and that's why
Right.
they ended up at the same.
They're probably kind of like me, where they just, it's hard to pick a favorite.
Yes. And we
Yes.
got 2 Star Wars movies so far. We had Last Jedi and Return of the Jedi. So we have that.
I suspect we'll get at least 2 more.
Mm-hmm. And of course we had anything else of note to mention here. We had 2 Alex Garland films, and that's him out. Technically 3 if you count Dread, which
A couple of art house films too made it. That's cool.
yeah. And yeah, we'll see. And perhaps Mystery Science Theater 3000 the movie will appear in the top 25
I
section.
suspect not. All signs point to maybe.
But that has been the first half. That's been the top 25. So hopefully you have enjoyed us running down this first half, and it should hopefully be a week until part 2. So I'm hopefully premiering this on the weekend, probably on a Sunday. So presumably next Sunday would be part 2. So look forward to that. Thank you for joining us. Please do like and subscribe and ding the bell for notifications. Those things help out on YouTube a lot and help the channel grow. You can, of course, also rate us on your podcast app. 5 stars and a review. Helps us out a lot there too. Wherever it may be, if it's iTunes, Podcast Addict, Podbean, whatever the service may be.
I haven't heard of any of those. Except for iTunes, I've heard of that.
I was just going to say, you've heard of iTunes. Come on. But whatever service you use, give us a
I
favourable
use
rating.
the Google one.
I will take this time to thank our Patreon producers at the time of recording. So thank you to Tyler Hess, Cindy Palacios, David Short, Board Now, Al Treisman, Christopher Moy, David Brown, and Stanley. They are our Patreon producers for the month. But Tara will tell you all about Patreon.
That's right. If you enjoy our reviews, please check out our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/MildFestTV. And if you donate as low as $1 per month, you will get access to bonus episodes of The Ace. That's where we tend to throw our maybe lesser known films, B movies, but they're really fun to watch and
Trash.
fun to talk about. Yeah, it's a lot of garbage movies there, but some good ones too. Like Time Cop is there. The first few Trancers are really good. Movies that are they're garbage fun. So go check that out. And if you donate $5 per month, you get to vote on what we watch, and you get some other stuff. You get access to these a day early. Yep, cool.
Although this one's not a day early. This countdown's a special separate thing.
Yep.
Just
But all of our reviews, you get a day early.
Yes, just FYI. Just making that clear. Because it's premiered on YouTube, and premieres can't be early on Patreon. That's why.
Yeah.
But yeah. So no, that's basically the gist of it. That is Patreon. That's all the other things you can do. Get us on the Twitters. I realize I still have that old Ace one in the corner, but that's because it's been really hard to change it, and I can't be bothered. At least for a while. So but I will say, get us on Patreon, or sorry, on Twitter at Screams Midnight. And you're thinking, that's the Screams After Midnight Twitter. And it is. It's the same handle. but that Twitter has turned into the Mailed Fuzz Movies Twitter. So it's at Screams Midnight, but it's also where you get updates for the Ace and things of that nature. And
Cool.
Sacred Hockey Mask, and of course Screams After Midnight, and anything else that's on Mailed Fuzz Movies. That is where that'll be pimped out and promoted, and you can ask us questions there if you wish, and so on and so on. But that is it. That is the show. That is us. So hopefully you've had fun with this first half of the top 25. Look forward to the finale next week, and we will see you then. So keep watching Science Fiction and Computer at Salsa.
Thanks for everyone who submitted. Thank you.
That wasn't very funny.